So, welcome viewers to Between Generations, A Life in Two Voices. Top of the afternoon to you. Today we have a special guest, Ines Vargas Fraenkel. Welcome, my dear. Thank you for coming on the podcast to talk with us today. So, Miss Ines is a salsa and music enthusiast. She wears those hats among many others as a beautiful mother. And she's done so many things that we probably won't cover all of it today in the podcast, but we'll get to a good chunk of it. We'll start with her career, and then we'll go into her love of salsa and music and anything else that you want to add to that, Ines. By all means, you may. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my mama. She's going to open up the discussion today.
Ines, as I said, I am fascinated with the law, and I know that you are a retired attorney, and I just wanted to discuss a little bit about that, how it was for you when you served in that capacity. So my first question is a reflective insight, and so you just share whatever you're comfortable sharing. So how did your role in police accountability evolve during your tenure? And what were the most significant legal or policy shifts you witnessed?
Well, first, I want to take this opportunity to thank you both for having me. I'm very honored that you selected me for your podcast, and I'll be happy to share as much as I possibly can. With respect to your question, I worked for the city of Oakland and for the city of San Francisco. So those are municipalities. So most of all of my career has focused on being a municipal, em- an employee for municipalities. I want to clarify that for the city of Oakland, I was a deputy city attorney, and therefore my role there was to support the city in as many ways as I could. So there was an advocacy involved in that. For the city of San Francisco, where I worked for the Department of Police Accountability for my last 10 years, my professional life, um, the the Department of Police Accountability started as the Office of Citizen Complaints in San Francisco. And back in the 80s, I believe it was, the charter of the city of San Francisco was amended by its citizens mostly because there was some allegations of police corruption and distrust of the department at the time. And so the department was basically civilian oversight of the department. And the best way to do it would be to, you know, sort of police the police, if you will, but not necessarily on major issues, but specifically on misconduct or neglect of duty by the police officers. So what the office did was it received civilian complaints, much like an internal affairs department within a police department would receive. But we did civilian oversight, so we had an entire crew of investigators, a small area, the legal department that oversaw the workings of the department. So there was an investigative part, and there was also a policy part. I was not involved in the policy part. We developed policies largely as a result of what was going on with the police department, but also the nature of the complaints that came in. So the policy attorney would then propose policy, new rules, regulations, amendments of their internal rules and regulations, and that sort of thing. My role was to oversee civilian complaints as they came in and to be basically a neutral viewer of the process that we followed. So complaints would come in, investigators would investigate. I would review the investigations. If they were not founded or unfounded, then the matter would be presented to the police chief and it'll go away. If it was founded, then we would also recommend discipline to the police chief. And then if there was a disagreement with that, or if the officer did not agree with our proposed recommendations for discipline, these matters would go to hearing. And they would go to hearing before the police commission. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that many policies and legal shifts in the department were not part of what I did on a day-to-day basis in that department.
Okay.
But there was a segment of the department that handled that. While I'm on this, I would like to encourage anyone who is watching or listening to this, if you have any complaints about any police officer in the city of San Francisco, please go to the Department of Police Accountability, where you will be received with open arms and you will have your matter investigated. One last thing about the investigators in that department. They were really excellent. They were either had lives as private investigators before, or they were retired investigators from the Department of DEA or other agencies. But none of the investigators had any prior relationship with SFPD, or nor had they worked for SFPD before. So I just encourage the citizens who are watching this to, use that resource if they have
Mm.
any issues with SFPD.
Mhm.
So
So,
I think, yes. Go ahead, please.
so it sounds like there were a pretty good system in place for this, this process. Well, is there anything or any of those cases that actually kept you up at night? Something.
Well, no, not really.
Okay.
I think I've always been able to, just by nature or by nurture, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was always able to fulfill my role, whether as an advocate for a municipality or a department in the Oakland, my Oakland role, or as a neutral. But I always tried to be neutral. Even in the city of Oakland, um, when there were matters, civil lawsuits filed, for example, if there was a reason to believe that we would not prevail at trial, be it because the facts were not in our favor, or because I had a sense that maybe some allegations were true, or just because we didn't have enough evidence to present to present a good defense, I would definitely advise my superiors, including the city council, about those facts and try to resolve matters. I am a believer in resolving things as best as we can. Um, I think that has served me well in the roles that I have been assigned to take. Not to be immodest about it, but just to be factual about what my career as a lawyer, as a municipal lawyer, has been. Does that answer your question, Marve?
Yeah, it does. It sounds like it's better to get it resolved at the lower level instead of letting things escalate and going to trial, or
Mm, mm, True.
letting it go to trial, basically.
Yes.
Um,
True. True.
yeah.
But yes, that's right. That's right. It doesn't always work out that way, and the facts are not always um, you know, they don't lend themselves to that kind of resolution, but one tries. Okay?
Yes.
Fairness is also
Thank
very
you.
important. Okay?
Yes. Thank you, Ines. Um, this this next question is more of an ethical challenge, and I'm saying questions
Mhm.
because they're different. So I want to say that this is a question that's an ethical challenge.
Mhm.
Um, what were the most complex ethical dilemmas you faced while balancing legal obligations with public trust in the law enforcement?
Mhm. My role was always, back to the Department of Police Accountability. My role was always one of being an unbiased reviewer of the facts that we obtain. Um, the Both internal affairs and investments by the Civilian Oversight Department involve not civil lawsuits or criminal matters. They involve an employment right of a police officer. An employment right of a police officer is a property right guaranteed by the Constitution. Therefore, all matters had to be subject to either agreement by the officer or hearing, so that mm, a property right, either a suspension or a termination, would be fairly meted out, if you will. Okay.
Mhm.
So, in terms of uh, ethical or legal issues for me, I think that was part of your question. Um, Ethical
Yes.
dilemmas. I really never had any issues with that. I always accepted the fact that there were people above me who would be making decisions based on my recommendations. All I could do in order to serve my public trust, if you will, is to perform my role in the best way possible. I will say that there were cases in the city of Oakland, for example, that I handled and tried that I thought came out the wrong way. But then again, there's a jury involved and a judge, and so the actual trial is done in the best way possible, and one has to accept the results. So there were some of those were frustrating issues for me, because
Mhm.
sometimes juries would come up with their own ideas, um, or the plaintiff side would insert information that was not really relevant to the case, but that people, especially during the time in Oakland, for example, when there had been so many scandals with the police department at the time that I served there, that where people came in with some bias when they were called to jury duty, in trials.
Sure.
With the city of San Francisco, the only issues that I would say were frustrating for me, not ethical problems, but somewhat frustrating, was that we wouldn't be able to get enough facts or evidence to support a complaint one way or the other. So many cases were deemed not founded, which means basically there's not enough for either side, because we wouldn't have enough evidence. And sometimes I suspected that maybe there was some misconduct, or I suspected that the complainant had some personal issues against a particular officer. So both sides, there are issues, and that would not be resolved. So that's the only thing that was I found frustrating at times, but nothing that involved any particular policy or particular um, ethic that I would say was troublesome for me. It was just the way it is. And sometimes that's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And technology has certainly changed. So people are now recording with their phones.
Right.
Back then in the 80s, and we didn't have that.
Yes.
So I assume now there's a lot more evidence-based, if you will.
Yes. Yes. At
Yeah.
the same time, when during the last portion of my tenure with the city of San Francisco, um, police cameras were installed. So
Yes.
police can also record. Um, so there, but recordings like eyewitnesses, sometimes it kind of depends on when the recording starts and stops. Sometimes you still cannot get the entire picture of something that happens on the ground. Um, so I think they're useful, and they probably are much more useful today than they were when I was there. Which really wasn't all that long ago, but I've done so much since
Yeah.
I left that it seems like a long time ago. That those are probably very useful. Yeah, people have phones, and police officers have cameras as well.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. So let's move into post-retirement.
Okay.
What reforms or accountability measures do you believe are still urgently needed in police departments today, based on your experience?
Well, as a citizen, I would say generally that I have an opinion. Um, there can always be reforms. With the current administration, I'm not really sure which direction we're going. Hoping that local police departments, especially in California, can stand their ground and do what's right for citizens. But in terms of my tenure there, while I was there, um, uh, I described my roles as they were. As a citizen today, um, I really cannot speak to what reforms are happening at this time. I made it a
Yeah.
point to really retire and to take advantage of the opportunity I had as a public employee to have a retirement where I could do other things in my life. I am not as versed or familiar with what is currently happening either with the city of Oakland or the city of San Francisco, where I would feel comfortable discussing the reforms that I think should be made, and whether they're even possible. Yeah. So I
Sure.
apologize. I cannot really give an opinion about that.
No, it's very insightful information, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Natalie, I think we're moving into a new area here with Inez.
Yes, we are. But before we go there, Ines, I just had one question because viewers will probably want to know just very briefly, like, what is the educational track to do something like what you did for so long for the
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
communities?
sure. Uh-huh. Well, um, law school involves getting a bachelor's degree of some sort and then applying to law school, which is an additional 3 years to get a JD, which is a Juris Doctorate.
Okay.
So it's a total of, if one goes from beginning to end, 7 years. After that, it's really a matter of luck and direction. If somebody wants to um, be a municipal attorney or an attorney for a public entity, so other agencies, state or federal agencies,
Mhm.
or even public service in another kind, like a public utility or whatever. It really is a matter of looking for those jobs. One of the
Yeah.
things I've advocated before is to try to get internships, paid or unpaid, and
Mhm.
maybe volunteer in places that you would like to, um, maybe get an opportunity. I was fortunate in that I applied at the right time in Oakland. I was living in Oakland, And before that, I had done a little bit of an internship or clerkship while I was in law school, and then a little bit right after while I was waiting for bar results with an asbestos firm, with an
Mm.
asbestos plaintiffs firm. So, I mean, that helped me to understand the paperwork involved in all kinds of legal matters, especially those were in dispute, like where civil lawsuits were anticipated or in the middle of. So I just learned the system. But in terms of public employment, I would really encourage it. There's something really, people have I think people may have um, uh, differing views about public employment, government
Hmm.
employment. Um, I hope that has changed. I think when I first got into it, it was viewed as, one of those jobs where people could just relax and, maybe government employment experiences have not been the best, that sort of thing. But I can assure you that there are some of us, many of us, who are doing the best we can in the roles that we are assigned. But I would encourage, because there's something really wonderful about giving back to your community or working on behalf of the taxpayers who are
Hmm.
basically paying one's salary. I found it
Sure.
very rewarding. I found it very rewarding. And I still believe in that track, if you will. Anybody can
Wonderful.
contact me and I can give them more information.
I
But
was
in
going to
terms
say.
of,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But please don't
Yeah.
come to my house.
No, no, but yes, thank you for that PSA. Yes, you can certainly reach out to
So,
Ines if you want more of maybe an in-depth explanation of just, the process. And also, I'm sure that, it takes a lot of studying. It's a lot of book work. It's a lot of content and education that you need to have to know about law. So I can imagine that that aspect itself is just as difficult. But thank you for that, because I was like, you know what? I think viewers really want to know,
I'd like to
at
PS
least where to
on
get
that.
started.
Yes. Yeah.
I just
Go
want to
for
have
it.
a PS on that. The PS on that is that I actually work for the city of Santa Cruz, or the city and county of Santa Cruz, before I went to law
Oh,
school. And for a number of reasons, um, I decided to go into law. But I wanted to become a politician when I first got in there, when I
wow.
first got into law school. But by the time I finished, actually kind of middle of the way, I realized that was not a role for me. Um, I am, um, I think I have some special skills in being someone who is the support person
Mhm.
of the politician, or the second person behind the person in front. I'm much more comfortable doing that, and I think I did a pretty good job while I was doing it. But by the time I got out, I did not want to go into politics per se, um, but I did want to get into public service somehow.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
that's
That's
yeah.
amazing. And I
Oh, it really is.
absolutely love how you said that there are people that go into public service and have maybe a bias before going in and don't really understand the role, who they're working with, the organization. I worked for DFCS for Santa Clara County and met some
Hmm.
incredible social workers. Incredible. That is hard work
Hmm.
working for child welfare. And just, the amount of intensity and just passion that they put into the
Hmm.
department and just to people is beautiful. So you're absolutely right. Um,
Hmm.
but before we go into my questions, I just have to say that I had asked Randall Daly. Randall Daisy is my fiance and also a beautiful dancer. This is how I met Ines, through Randall. He
Yes.
wanted me to say that you are talented, innovative, intelligent. You
Ooh.
are inspirational and big hearted, and you are very popular and a role model. So I wanted to make sure I told you that before
Oh,
I
Oh my
wonderful.
goodness. goodness, I'm going to have to really live up to all of that.
He
Thank you.
genuinely
And
just
thank you to
loves
Randall.
everything about you. Yes. And
And
he
I also love him.
he's inspired by you. And I'm so glad that he suggested to ask to have you on the podcast. So I was very thankful that he gave us that
Oh,
idea because
thank
Yes.
you.
here you are. So
Thank
we
you.
will
Thank you to Randall.
transition
Okay.
into some other topics that are just
Oh,
as
yes.
beautiful and amazing and powerhouse. So let's start with homage to your mom. And today is a special day. So this question comes with a lot of love. We genuinely want to hear about this beautiful woman. And so the question is, can you tell me a little bit about your mom and how did your relationship with your mom shape the person that you are?
Wow. Both parts of that question, we do not have time to cover.
I know we don't.
But my mom was born in Lima, Peru. Well, actually, she was born in Cajamarca, I believe, which is a province outside of Lima. But basically, my grandparents lived in Lima. My grandmother, well, my maternal grandmother was Peruvian, and my maternal grandfather was Chinese. He had immigrated from the southern part of China to make a fortune, if you will, which was what people did back then.
Yeah.
So they took a boat, if you will,
Yeah,
and
literally.
literally, and ended up in Lima. My mother was half Peruvian, half Chinese. Beautiful woman, lovely woman.
Oh.
Um, but when she was an infant, her mother died. I am not clear as to whether it was during childbirth or right after, but very much when she was an infant. My grandfather then took her to back to China, to his area where he had come from, and left my mother there to be raised by the family of his new wife, with which he had a life and many children afterwards in Peru. So my mom was raised in China, in the southern part of China, in what's now called Guangzhou. It was then Canton, if you will, which is right next to Hong Kong. Um, but anyway, so she was raised there. Eventually, um, she, well, make a long story short, she married my dad, and they went to Lima again to have a life there. My father was from what I understand, he was a lieutenant in Chiang Kai-shek's army, but retired. So he and my mom went to Peru. So my father was Chinese. So I was born in Lima, but uh, my dad, how can I say? I was born in Lima, but I'm technically 3/4 Chinese and 1/4 Peruvian. But I was born and
Yeah.
raised in Lima, so Spanish is my first language,
Yeah.
and I'm very much consider myself Latina in many ways. Even though we were raised in a very protected environment, um, for a whole host of reasons. I have two older siblings, and I have two younger siblings. So there are five of us all together. My mom was a single mom.
Wow.
My dad and my mom split up when I was very young. So she basically was a worker. My mom is someone that I would unequivocally term as a warrior at a
Oh, I like
time
that.
when that was not popular, especially in Peru when she was trying to raise all of us. She believed strongly in what I would say two things. One is education, and the other
Yes.
real estate.
Okay.
She really
Yes.
believed in those two those two ideals. She wanted us to be better than the poverty that she was raised in and that we grew up in, frankly.
Yeah.
And her way out of that was education and eventually buy real estate, um, just to have a piece of the rock, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and so as soon as she was able to, um, my oldest sister came to Cal on a scholarship. And then my older brother came to Cal on a scholarship. And then my older sister uh, was going to be married here in Berkeley, actually. And so at that point, my mom applied for and obtained resident visas for the whole family. And
Mm.
this is something that was still possible back then. So we
Yeah.
moved to the Bay Area, actually, moved to Berkeley. And my education continued from there. But backtracking a little bit, my mom worked very, very hard all her life to give us this education. All of us in a country as not wealthy as, or as poor, I should say, as Peru, especially during that time, she
Sure.
begged, borrowed, and stole. Sorry, mom. Um, to get us into private schools,
Mm.
American private school, nun school, all girls school. I went to an American all girls nun school. And that accounts for a lot of the therapy and personal growth that I've gone through as an
Yes.
adult, but we'll put that aside for a moment. In any event, so we were able to come to the States and pursue the education that she believed was essential uh, for us coming out of that stage of life or that status of life that we grew up in. Um, this is not meant to be a sob story, not by any means. I consider all of the difficulties that we had growing up in Peru, and the poverty that we lived in, um, as really something that I think helped each and every one of my siblings to excel, if you will, with my mom's ideals and push behind us, of course, to try and do the best we could with those two concepts, which was the education. I'm proud to say that each one of my siblings has a higher education,
Amazing.
and you know they've done well in their lives, and so those were the foundations that she built our lives around. She passed away actually 15 years ago, 2010, on this date
Yeah.
as we are recording this. So I
Yes.
would like very much to just say, my mamita was a warrior. I am extremely pleased to be able to talk to you all about her today, especially. Um, how she shaped me. Um, I think I pretty much said the basic things. I
Mhm.
will say that after she passed away, I think generally, after our parents passed away, that my dad, I didn't really stay in contact with him, but he did pass away many years before my mom. But I will say that when our parents pass away, we really are left with who are we,
Mm.
and I think that if we take a good look at who we are at that point in time, once the grief process is past a little, that we have to take a good look at whether we are who we are at present, because of how we were expected to be, and maybe try to formulate from that who we really are, what makes us comfortable in our gut, and not just what our head is always telling us because someone told us that we have to be
Yeah.
a certain way. So I really, that could take a really long time to explain, but her legacy to
Yeah.
me has been not just who I am today, but also how free I feel at this point in time to shape who I am and who I hope to be in the days that I have left in my life.
That is
Yes.
very beautiful.
And I
Yes.
try to pass that on to my children. This is really important. And I would really like to complete my answer by
Yes.
saying that what she instilled in me, I passed on to my kids. They they are both my children who are in their late 20s and early 30s at this point are um have had education because um my husband, my then husband, and myself really provided that for them so that they would have the freedom to be able to pick for themselves as adults
Mhm.
um what direction they wanted to be. And I'm happy to report that, oh, they're amazing human beings. They
Oh,
don't live with
wonderful.
me, but I know that they do well and they are really amazing human beings. So Natalie knows one of them at least at
I
this
do.
point. Yes, yes. So in a way, that's a legacy that I pass on from my mom to my children, happily so. Mm.
That is so beautiful. I mean,
It is very beautiful.
I would love to listen to you talk about your mom for hours because
I would
I just
love
love
to.
how you honor her. You honor her soul, you honor her body, and you honor everything that she carried with her. I mean, that is quite
Yeah,
a legacy. And to call her a warrior is an honor. That is a strong
That
title
is
to
an
yeah,
hold.
honor.
yeah.
So thank you for talking to us on this special day.
Oh,
Yes,
I'm sorry. There is something that I must say about my mom
absolutely.
that um, I am so proud of her about. Is that when she came, she was a restaurateur. That's she started with a little grocery store in a garage, and then she was able to rent a restaurant, found a great Chinese chef.
Wow.
My mom always said,
Ooh.
she said, it's not what you put out. It's like if you have a good chef, you can have a great restaurant.
Yeah.
So, but eventually she had a seafood restaurant in Peru, bought property, built a restaurant that was extremely successful. But when she moved to the United States, she would go back and forth for a long time. But when she moved to the United States, she was named Honorary Consul of Peru in San Francisco. And what that basically
Wow.
means is that she was not in the diplomatic corps, so didn't come up into diplomatic corps as a normal, a diplomat would. But an honorary consul is someone who's given that honorary position to
Yes.
work with the consulate, to greet people, to help with everything, basically to work alongside the consul general and his staff or her staff in welcoming, you know, Peru and its traditions and its culture in this country. In this in this situation, it was in the city of San Francisco and of course its surrounding regional area. And she did that for about 30 years until
Wow.
she actually became infirm and retired. But that was a real honor. And for such humble beginnings that she had,
Right.
this
Yes.
was really an amazing and she served really well. I am sure that she has a wonderful reputation with the Peruvian consulate and the many people who have seen her in that role for all these years. And I don't think anybody can say, I will venture out to say that, mm, I know I'm a lawyer, so I don't ever want to generalize, but I would say that almost everyone I know or who ever knew my mom thinks extremely highly of her because of all of her contributions, not just as a
Yes.
businesswoman, but also after that as an honorary consul and all the things that she gave back to her country, even though she was in the United States. So
Yes.
That's
thank you
incredible.
for letting me give her a shout, my mom.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the
Absolutely,
legacy is
yes.
amazing. And then equally your legacy. I mean, this is generational wealth right here. That's really incredible,
Mm.
Inez. So we are nearing the end of our podcast. So I'm going to shorten these questions just a little bit, but I really want to get into the journey of salsa and music because this is something
Okay.
that is very close to your heart, I know. And I have gotten a chance to see Ines and her amazing all female band play, and they are incredible. So we will
Thank
put
you.
that information of where you can go and check them out below the podcast when we're finished. So,
Yes.
but I want to ask, what drew you to salsa and what keeps you coming back over the years?
As we transition into that, I want to say unequivocally that I have been extremely lucky. I've had opportunities, I've had great mentors in my life. And I want to just give a shout out to all those people whom I cannot name right now because there are too many. But I was given opportunities and I took them. Some of them worked and some of them didn't. But I had enough, you know, to determine which ones worked for me. I got into salsa, even though I was born and raised in Peru. Well, some of my life. Um, I could hear salsa, cumbia, timba music, but because of my mom's focus on us being better, getting better, and education and all of that, and because we were young, we were very protected. So I was never really able to explore that side of life, if you will. The whole emphasis was on using the left side of the brain, which is,
Mhm.
education,
Correct.
analysis, and all that. But um, so luck has played a big part in my life. And in 2010, I think it was early 2010. Oh, first of all, because of my mom's role with the Peruvian consulate and everything, I was exposed to Julio Bravo and his band very early on because he's
Wow.
Peruvian and he had a lot of connections with the consulate, and I'm sure he still does. Very successful person. Um, and so I was able to watch him perform here and there, and love the music. But again, my life was, as a mom, as a lawyer, I really could not engage in anything beyond that admiration. But as as luck would have it, 2010, uh, when Groupon first started,
Oh,
I saw, yeah, remember back then?
Yeah.
I saw Groupon for like 2, 3 salsa classes locally with a man named Juan Gil, Salsa with Juan. Randall knows Juan.
yes.
So I started dancing a little bit, and really enjoying the music. I don't know, something just kind of came alive for me. So I started dancing. Took some lessons, some basic lessons, but I've never been a group lesson kind of person. Not someone that learns patterns and things like that by breaking them down. I am more of a visceral kind of like I do and I
Mm.
learn and I
Mhm.
Hmm.
watch and I learn. So that probably took me longer to learn the best techniques or, how to ease my way into the salsa dancing scene. Um, but once I started social dancing, I got hooked, totally hooked.
Mm.
Because at that time I had an association um, with a people in the sound engineering business, I was able to go places like Cafe Kokomo and
Yes.
other
Wow.
venues and get there early and leave after everybody had left. I met a lot of musicians then because I was able to, get to know the band. Always admired people coming together and making that perfect sound that that only exists in live performances. Not the perfect sounds of a CD or a professional recording,
Yeah.
but the vibrations and the passion that come when you're right in front of live music being made by people.
Yes.
So back in early 2010, I started hanging out with musicians and dancers, but as a very, you know, um, not versed person in the best techniques or the best, everything. But I kind of picked up a lot of things. And so I took my first musical lessons were based on the bongo,
Ooh.
which are
Yes.
the two drums that are held
Yes.
between, just for your viewers and listeners, the two drums that are held between one's legs, that one is a hembra and the one is a macho, bigger and smaller, that one can hit. As part of the bongo playing, one also plays at different parts of the song, plays the bell, the cowbell. Um, we used to be bongoceros played guido also, which is a gourd with lots of little rice.
Yes.
You use a
Yeah.
stick and it makes beautiful sound to keep rhythm. Also
Yeah.
maracas, okay, and also sometimes the clave, although
Yeah.
the timbalero is probably doing the clave most of the time. So those are little instruments that, and a whole bunch of little piano, kind of like little, well, there's a whole lot of little accessories that go with bongo playing. But I'll honestly say that when I took those lessons, I really didn't know enough about salsa or the structure of music or really the structure of dance enough to have it all make sense to me. But I did have the basics and how to practice those basics. I had wonderful mentors who were like trios that played in restaurants,
Yes.
that gave me the opportunity to sit in with them and play with them a little so I could practice in real time the instrument. Okay. Took a while, but they kept me and I kept coming. And as long as they would have me, I would be there. So I did that for a really long time until we had to switch venues and venues. I would love to name the people that helped me, but I think I'll leave it at that right now.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
um, but I am most grateful for those individuals, some of whom are still my mentors to this day. But I practice by doing. Um, and then that it combined with dancing and helped the association. But for a long time, I saw both tracks as separate. Um, so back to your question, and I think your question had something to do with how I started with salsa and music.
Yes. But you
So
embedded music in there too, which is great because that was going to be my follow-up. Last question was, now
okay,
how have you over the years fused both of them? Because I totally understand when you say that both of them were separate for a long time. That was similar
for a
to
long
me.
time.
Music with salsa dancing, but you have salsa dancing, music, and learning how to play these instruments. So yeah,
Yes,
we
yes.
could end with that, Inez, with you talking to us about how you have fused those together. And maybe some suggestions for some followers who are new to the scene or new to the music, or maybe they're
Okay.
instrumentalists and they want to learn more.
Well,
Actually, I
what
have
I
a follow-up to that.
yes, uh-huh.
When I was young, my grandparents had a salsa band, and my grandmother played the bongos, and she played.
No.
You mentioned it earlier. The what
The
is that?
guido.
The guido,
The
yeah.
guido.
Yeah.
She
Yes.
played that. The
Yes.
maracas.
Yes.
So I was exposed to them rehearsing in their basement with the band at a very young age. And my grandmother was 410, and she would get on the bongos, and I mean, go. She couldn't sing, but they were a fabulous salsa band back in 65, 66, 67. I mean, they were performing all over San Francisco.
My
So
goodness.
I can identify with that.
Oh, wonderful. That's what, did you know that, Natalie?
Did not. This is news to
Okay.
me, and that is fire.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
really cool.
Natalie, I have to show you pictures because I have pictures of her
That
and my
amazing.
grandfather. And they did salsa back then, and they were very much into, let's see, they were a little bit older. Santana was coming out then. And so my mom and my aunt sang, and they played with Pete Escovedo for a while and
Oh.
George Santana.
Wow.
So
That
we
is
have
new
a
to me.
musical background.
There
Yeah,
you
but the
go.
congas were fabulous. So
Mhm.
I want to hear more about that. I want to see you also when I'm trying to get all of this out. When I come back out to visit.
Yes, we
Definitely.
will. We
Please
are.
do.
We're going to go see her
Please
band.
do it.
Yes.
Please
They're
do.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I guess what I want to say though is that by pursuing these two tracks that I considered separate for a long time, I realized at some point, or maybe it just kind of developed, on its own. The relationship between dancing and playing for me. Um, Percussion was always my play. I learned
Yes.
piano when I was little, so I can see notes, I recognize notes, but I was never really someone to pursue that. Percussion to me was rhythm that you feel in your body. And to keep percussion, not only does one need to feel the beat, but one needs to make it, right? So when we're playing with a band, we got to be on the money because everybody's doing it at the same time. And
Yes.
there's something beautiful about feeling the beat in the body and then being able
Yes.
to play it.
Right.
Now,
Yes.
salsa as a follower for me was always, and this is I think a common view, that a leader dictates which direction we're going. And so for a long time, I think like a lot of people, waited for the leader to tell us which way to go in order to go. One of the things that has developed for me as I have played music and made music that people can actually dance to is to dance, to make music, to make the music with the dance, not to wait for the leader. So for followers, I would say, just generally speaking, that one of the things that I love about combining these things is that not to wait for the music, is to dance the steps with the beat. The leader will guide which direction we go or if we go back and forth,
Yes.
but we are always already in motion
Yes.
because we are dancing. We are basically playing the music real time with our bodies.
Yes.
So that is
That's
something that,
so good.
yes, taking, and for professional instructors, I would be amiss to to not mention that. They know this, they probably teach it. This is something that I am sharing from my own life experience and how
Mhm.
I've gotten to where I am today. So my relationship between percussion and dancing is
Yes.
very direct. And I would encourage anyone who is very interested in dancing. And I don't mean performing or whatever, because performances have a whole different track
Mhm.
of, training and whatnot. But if one really wants to improve dancing, is to maybe either watch YouTube or take some percussion classes.
Yes.
Because when you feel the sound being made and then you hear
Yes.
it in a recording when you're dancing, it makes much more sense. Again, always in movement, not waiting for anything, using the body as an instrument to create the music in a
Yes.
silent way. Okay. So that's something that I've actually also told some instructors, like I say, have your students try a little, like the basic conga pattern, for
Mm.
example, just a basic tumbao. You feel it in your body, you feel it in the count. And percussion is also really important in salsa music
Mhm.
because almost the entire time, except for solos or whatever fancy thing somebody might want to do, percussion is keeping the beat. It's
Mhm.
not, it's kind of
Yes.
boring if you think about it, because it's basically the same rhythm, but it marks the beat and the rhythm for, I would say, the beat for all the other instruments. Okay.
Yes.
So it has to be steady, 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 steady. One
Yeah.
thing is, so another thing I want to share is that because of my fortune, my mentors, my opportunities, um, I can't tell you how many times I've performed or sat in with people, as just a an unpaid, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
just as a part of adding to whatever sound they're making. Um, but doing it over and over and over and over again has been the way that I have developed musically. Same with social dancing and salsa,
Mhm.
over and over and over. Of course, salsa dancing and social dancing is so much fun, you know.
Yes.
So you get
Yeah.
fun, you get physical therapy, therapy
Yes.
physically and emotionally. I
Yeah.
always say, when one is dancing, all your other issues go away, because you got to just
Yes.
pay attention to where you're putting your feet and whether you're keeping, you have to pay attention to what's going on.
Mhm.
And then by the end, one feels refreshed, and pretty much all bad things go away.
It's a form of
Amen.
therapy.
Yes, yes, yes.
Therapy.
And stamina in dancing.
Yes.
Yes.
Same as stamina in music comes with practice, 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 practice. For example, I will say that I play every Thursday nowadays. I play every Thursday. I've done it for like maybe about a year and a half. Um, with a trio of gentlemen who are primo musicians at
Wow.
Cinema Grill in Alameda. It's
Mhm.
a restaurant bar, um, very very lively, very very fun, and they have allowed me to sit in with them every week, and I have, with on rare
Oh,
occasions, I have missed them. So I go there as a guest musician. I set up my mic. I do vocals, I do harmonies with them, or sometimes they let me do leads. But I play. Another gentleman and I, fellow musician, we trade. We switch the bongo chair. So I will play the guiro and sing, or the clave, or the maracas, whatever, when he's playing the bongo itself, because he'll play the bongo and the bell, and then we'll switch, and then I'll get to play the bongo and the bell. But with all of these instruments, to play, for 3 hours straight, whatever, it requires stamina.
Yeah.
And, so sometimes one can play, but to keep playing and to be able to stay with it for a long period of
Yes.
time, for a set, 2 sets, 3 sets, for a whole performance, does require a lot of practice. So, however one can get the practice, be it's social dancing, just paying attention to the musical instruments, not just the song in general, but also just isolate the musical instrument. Those are kinds of things that I would encourage people as dancers or as musicians to do. Um, so I think that's sort of what I would say have gotten me to where I am today. And yes, I now sing salsa with
Yes.
yes, with an all women's band. So we are sextet
Wow.
now. And yeah, I know you will give a little reference in the comment, in the
Yes,
description area.
absolutely.
Appreciate it. But we do play at this place at the Cinema Grill in Alameda for every month, once a month. Um, we have other gigs as well, but that's one of our favorite because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And I have to also say that uh, all of the women in my current band, the band leader is Patricia Tumas, and if anybody knows anything about music in the Bay Area, she has been a pioneer female pianist,
Wow.
a musician for forever. I want to say for over 50 years,
Wow.
and she also writes for music now. So her band was originally a Latin jazz band. It is now Latin jazz and salsa. So we play music that is danceable, and because everybody in that band is very seasoned in their own instruments, in their own abilities,
Mhm.
I feel very confident as their front person, their singer. And I also play percussion. I play the bell and the guiro and the clave when I'm singing with them. Um, we don't have a bongocera. We have a conguera, and we have somebody who plays a full set of drums. That's wonderful. Um, so what I would say is simply that because they are so amazing, I feel very confident in my role in their band, which is called E Elements,
Yes.
I love
E
it.
Elements Latin Jazz Ensemble. Thank you.
Oh, very
I had to put
cool.
that in there.
Yes,
And if
definitely. If you
anybody,
Very
hadn't done it, I would
cool.
have done it. Give them a shout out.
and if anybody wants to come
Yes.
out on Thursday evenings, 7 or 7:30 to 10:30, I hang out with Mio Flores and his trio with Calito Franco and Gary Flores. Um, I'm there every Thursday, so please come on out and enjoy our live music there. So those are the two plugs,
Fabulous.
and all of these people have been and are my mentors. So I consider them that. So I wanted to give
Wonderful.
a shout out to them.
Thank
Fabulous.
you, Inez. This has
Oh,
been
thank
such an
you.
incredible conversation. I mean, we could
Yes.
literally talk to you for hours, but we are at the end of our show, and you've given us just so much knowledge, so much insight. It's been a pleasure, a true pleasure. From my
It's
heart
my
to
Yes.
yours, thank
pleasure.
you for gracing us today.
Thank you,
My
Ines.
pleasure. Yes. Thank you
So
both.
we
And
will
all the best.
put information, yes, we will put information for where to find your amazing band so viewers can go out and
Yes.
check it out. And also, of course, smash the like button. I'm going to say it
Smash
again.
that like button
Subscribe.
And yes, subscribe so that we can continue
and
to make really
subscribe.
great content. So thank you, Ines, with
Wonderful.
much
Thank you
love.
both.
Thank you.
Much love,
It's been a
Ines.
pleasure.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
Me too. Thank
Ta-ta,
you both.
everyone.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.